In 2018, MoDOT hired Burns & McDonnell to conduct an environmental assessment to review the impacts and the preferred solution to address the aging Buck ONeil Bridge. In response to this study, Burns & McDonnell has collected, researched, and documented historic artifacts discovered within MoDOT's Buck ONeil Bridge project site. Originally built in 1956, the Buck ONeil Bridge is a triple arch bridge carrying US 169 over the Missouri River, serving as a key regional connection between downtown Kansas City and communities north of the river. While safe, the bridge is nearing the end of its projected lifespan. Since its opening, the neighborhoods and communities on both sides of the bridge have changed significantly, and now nearly 50,000 vehicles use the bridge daily. The archaeologists involved with this project, however, were interested in something dating even further back, to the 1800s. As part of the bridge replacement, the team checked to see if they would be impacting any historic resources. While no historic buildings were demolished during construction, the team was able to locate many historically significant artifacts buried several feet below the surface. These sites were identified during the environmental assessment for the construction of the new bridge. To do this, the team at Burns & McDonnell compared and overlaid maps and photos of the area from the 1800s and 1900s to what the city looks like today. They then selected several areas that could potentially harbor remnants of Kansas City's past. This was a three-phase process involving pre-excavation research to find possible locations of artifacts. Then, taking a closer look at these locations during excavation to see what could be learned, and finally, artifact and data collection and mitigation. One of the areas selected for excavation was once the setting of a boarding house, listed in city directories as early as 1887 as furnished rooms, and by 1898 it was known as Lakeview House. It was located at approximately 5th Street and Beardsley Road, within what is now the loop ramp to westbound I-70 from Beardsley Road. The hotel was later demolished in the 1940s. Some of the items recovered in this location include hairbrushes, combs, eyeglasses, children's toys, coins, glassware, medication bottles, beverage bottles, and so much more.
We're standing at the corner of 3rd and Broadway right now, where the new 3rd Street will connect into the existing city network. As a part of the work in this area, it was identified where there may be some archaeological finds and some things that needed to be looked at. And so the archaeology team came out here, had several locations where they sifted through the dirt and were able to find artifacts from people who lived in this area in the 1800s. Without some of the work of the contractor that's going on and the engineers and placing things where they did, we wouldn't have been able to find these artifacts that kind of give us a history and a glimpse into what life was like for people who lived in this area.
The archaeologists also found another site a couple blocks northeast of the hotel. This site consists of a residence circa 1880, identified in later records as a shanty. This site was also used as a dump by local residents during the early 20th century. It stood only steps away from Kansas City's red light district and was part of an extremely marginalized community within Kansas City.
So this area, is really integral to Kansas City. It's one of the original locations, where Kansas City was really first founded, here along the edge of the river. And so what you're seeing is when we find these artifacts, we're finding what life was like for people who lived here. And when we talk about life of people, it wasn't those that lived in the big fancy houses that exist to this day. It was the people who worked in the West Bottoms or worked over here near the river market. And it was for people who had children and things like that. We were able to find toys and just utensils of daily life that these people were able to use as they built up the town of Kansas City.
The original Buck ONeil Bridge served as one of the first main connections from downtown to north of the river. Prior to its construction, many relied on the Hannibal Bridge, which was the first permanent rail crossing of the Missouri River, completed in 1869. While we will eventually say goodbye to the current structure, construction of the new ONeil Bridge has allowed us to learn more about the history and the people who once inhabited the area. The artifacts uncovered by the team on this project site can help us further understand and write these often forgotten communities back into history. The new ONeil Bridge is anticipated to provide a century of service. MoDOT and its partners will use the information obtained from these findings for further mitigation to better understand our past as we build to the future. And speaking of the future, who knows what the engineers and archaeologists will learn about us and our lives now when they begin plans to replace the very bridge we are currently building. For more information about MoDOT projects, go to www.modot.org.